Hey, what's up guys? Joker here. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Logitech C922 webcam, which is the successor to the Logitech C920, which for a very long time has been one of the most popular webcams for streamers out there because it had really good 1080p quality. But one of the big problems is that it was limited to 30 FPS, and in a world now where video players doing 60 FPS over on Twitch as well as on YouTube, gaming is becoming a more common thing, and most streamers are actually streaming their games on the PC at 60 frames per second. Having a 60 FPS webcam that could match your gameplay is something that is appealing to a lot of streamers out there, myself included in that. So today we're going to take a look at the Logitech C922, as I mentioned, because one of the biggest things that they have introduced into the C922, while pretty much keeping a lot of the other things about the C920 that made it good, is they improved it by including 60 FPS, which is awesome. So streaming with games and stuff like that, it's going to look a lot better and a lot more consistent, being that your video footage is going to be 60 FPS just like the gameplay. So right now I'm actually recording this on my DSLR as well as the C922 in 60 FPS so that we could switch back and forth between the two, and you guys can get an idea of the image quality on the Logitech C922. One of the things worth mentioning though is that the 60 FPS is limited to working at 720p. So if you are, streaming and stuff like that and you want to do the 60 frames per second, you're going to have to do 720p on your webcam. But that really shouldn't be that much of an issue, because most people that are going to be streaming and using the webcam at 60 FPS, more than likely their video feed is going to be rather small down in the corner of the screen, and it's not going to really have that much of an impact, because when you're seeing something that small on a 1080p image, if you are streaming at 1080p, then you're not going to really notice the degradation in video quality, whereas if you were watching it in full screen like you may be right now. As far as the design and aesthetics of the Logitech C922, they really haven't changed a whole lot. They did get rid of the blue LED on the front when it was on. Now it's just more of a faint yellow, which I personally prefer over having the bright blue, which was rather glaring. It was really just in your face, whereas the yellow they have on here now is a little bit more subtle. It's a small change, but I do like it. Other than that, the rest of the webcam, besides, moving around some of the text on it a little bit, it's pretty much exactly the same. I believe they're using the same exact microphone here, which is not very good. I would not advise anyone using the microphone on this webcam right here. Get yourself a dedicated microphone solution, especially if you are going to be streaming. So you can mount the C922 on top of your monitor just like you could previously, and you have tilt functionality if you want to go ahead and adjust the angle of the C922. So another thing they did differently this time is they've included a mini tripod along with the C922, which you can attach right to the bottom, or any other tripod really. The C920 before did have a thread on the bottom so that you can mount it to a tripod, but it wasn't included along in the package, so it is nice that they are including one along with it here, although personally it's not something I'm going to be using. I found the quality on the mini tripod to be lacking. The ball head on it, while, it's nice to have the ball head because you can balance out the webcam and make sure you're getting a level shot, I found that it became loose rather easily, and because it really is just the slightest turn on the knob and it becomes loose again. So I found myself knocking this out of place all the time. It does have height adjust. You could do 3 levels of height adjust with it, but as I said, it's a fairly cheap tripod. I actually found this exact one, like literally the exact same one, over on Amazon that you could pick up for $7. So that's basically the tripod that they're including along with this. Personally, I use a Manfrotto mini tripod, they're about 25 bucks. They're a little bit more, but they're also really well built, and it's something that I already had that I've been using for quite a long time. But the one included along with it is nice if you don't want to mount, if you want a different solution, mounting it on top of your monitor or your laptop, whatever you're using the webcam with. It's a nice thing that they've included along with it, but like I said, the build quality on it leaves a little bit something to be desired. As far as the image quality is concerned, the C922 is at least matching what the C920 was able to do, in my opinion, and I think it does improve a little bit in regards to things like the contrast and the brightness. I think that is a little bit better on the C922, but I actually thought that the sharpness was better on the C920. You guys can be the judge of that here, as I'm going to be showing you them side by side on your screen. And both of these images, the video was captured at 720p, 30 FPS on the side by side that you're looking at right here. And now we're going to actually switch it over to looking at it 30 FPS on the C920, which is its max frame rate output, versus the C922 at 60 FPS, because when I switched it over to 60 frames per second, I did notice a loss in visual quality. The image became a lot softer. It wasn't as sharp as it had been previously, while, at 30 FPS, it was really neck and neck with the visual quality between the two webcams. When I put the C922 to 60 FPS, even though they were both still at 720p, I did see a loss in visual fidelity there, as I mentioned. So just in a head-to-head battle with 60 versus 30 FPS, you're going to see better image quality on the C920. But, for streamers and stuff like that, the image quality is still going to be more than sufficient, and the benefits of having the 60 FPS video, I feel, are going to greatly outweigh the negatives of seeing a slight loss in visual quality, which when you're using a really small window in the corner of your screen, it's not something most people are going to be able to pick up or really even care about. Most people are probably just going to be happy that they're watching a stream where the video of the player as well as the game is matching at 60 frames per second. Another big thing on the C922 is the inclusion of a background removal tool in the form of the Personify Chroma Cam, which you do have to download a separate driver for, but once you do, you can go into your streaming software, whether you're using XSplit or OBS, and you just have to select that as your webcam option. Instead of the C922, you just choose the Personify Chroma Cam, and that will go ahead and immediately remove the background behind you, which is pretty revolutionary. There are a couple other webcams that just got announced very recently, the Creative Sense 3D and the Razer Stargazer, who are both doing something very similarly. The difference here with Logitech is that they're actually using a software solution, while Razer and Creative are using a hardware solution, which in my opinion could prove to be better. I'm still waiting to maybe get hands-on with the Razer and the Creative webcams and see if the hardware solution is any better than what is on hand here with the Logitech C922, because I wasn't really too pleased with the quality. While it was able to remove the background, which is really impressive, you don't need to have a green screen or anything like that, I did find that I needed to use my studio lighting in order to get a good separation so that it was removing the background. But I did still see some inconsistency with it being able to block out like my headphones on my head. It would cut those off on the side because I wear big black headphones, so it would kind of cut those off, and it would look a little weird around me, and sometimes they would clip in and you would be able to see the headphones. So it was rather inconsistent, and around the rest of my body it seemed very choppy, like there was some bad aliasing kind of just all around my body, especially when I would move a lot. So this would be good for, maybe a casual streamer that, doesn't have studio lighting, doesn't have a green screen, which is not always going to be practical. It's not going to be very practical for people to go out and have a big, gigantic green screen. I mean, I do YouTube full time and I still don't have a green screen. So because I just don't feel like it's practical or necessary for me, but for people that do want to do the background removal, a green screen is still going to be the best solution if you have high quality standards. While the Personify Chroma Cam, it does work, but it's not really ideal. It's not something I would use if I was going to be streaming full time, just because I have a little bit higher quality standards, I guess you could say. I kind of like everything I'm doing to look the best that it possibly can and try to be perfect in every way, from the audio to the video. So if I was doing a stream, the background removal tool on the Logitech C922 is not something that I would personally utilize. And another thing worth noting is that it is rather CPU demanding to go ahead and use that, because it puts all of that onto the CPU itself. I noticed my CPU jumped from around 10 to 15% up to like 25-30% on my i7-6800K, and I was using the NVIDIA encoder, so it was putting a pretty strong load on my 6-core 12-threaded processor. So I would certainly recommend, if anyone's thinking about picking this up, to use the background removal tool to have, I would say, at least an i7, because I've read some reports online of them having a lot of difficulty using it over OBS on an i5 processor. So that's just something worth noting. So all in all, I'm actually really pleased with the Logitech C920. I think it's a nice step forward, including that 60 FPS over the Logitech C920, which is something I've been wanting to do. I do my weekly TGW podcast, which I'm now considering jumping that forward to 60 FPS, where I was doing it 30 FPS before. So that's really, the main selling point for me on this webcam, is having the 60 frames per second, and while having the background removal tool included is nice, like I said, it really left something to be desired for me. And if you have high quality standards, and if you're a full-time streamer, using a green screen is still going to be the best solution for you if you're able to do that. But Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here, guys. Please let me know your thoughts on the Logitech C922 down in the comments below, and subscribe for more videos like this. And if you do want to pick up the C922, it's currently listed at $100 as it has just released, and I'm going to put a link to it over on Amazon down in the description below if you want to pick one up. But other than that, I will catch you guys next time. Turn.